and I will be so indignant about your escape that it will be hard for her to believe that I am in league with you. Is there anything else that you need to know? What is going to happen on the day of the feast? Wise Child said. That's what we need to know. None of your business, child, Uni said infuriatingly. Yes, it is my business, Wise Child said emphatically, drawing herself up in her dirty, disheveled clothes and looking Uni square in the eye. I am part of the power of the Dorans in this place, and I can only use my power if I know what is going on, so don't treat me like a child. I could see a flicker of surprise on Uni's face. She was silent for a moment, and then, like one defeated in an argument, said with unusual grace for her, You are right. If I knew more, I would tell you more. All I know at present is that Juniper will come to the feast. I have commanded her to do so. That Prince Brangwyn, thanks to your efforts, will probably ride in the birthday race. And that if Finbar can accomplish it, the men of Castle Dor will attack Caerleon. That is all that I can tell you. The rest depends on the Doran secret, the ability to work in harmony with events, not oppose them, with our willpower. The two Dorans, Uni with a lifetime of experience behind her, and Wise Child, little more than a child, stood and continued to stare at each other. Both of them, I thought, as if they were seeing the other properly for the first time. It was Wise Child who broke the long silence that fell between them. Very well, she said, with that special air of authority she could assume sometimes, that made her seem not like a child at all. You have answered my question. Call the soldiers and let us go back to our cell. I will try to trust in the protections to carry us through. As before, we were pushed and prodded down the stairs and into our cell. When the soldiers had gone, I pulled out the key and tried it in the door. Although I trusted Uni on the whole, it was difficult to believe it would work. But it did. The door swung smoothly open. Knowing we could get out of the cell, not to mention the conversation we had had with Uni, made both of us feel much more cheerful, although we were still miserably hungry, and the bitter cold of the cell soon bit into our flesh. I hope Cormac comes soon, said Wise Child. Wouldn't it be awful if Marut woke up before he came and dragged us back to the workroom? Somehow I don't think Uni would get that wrong, I said. Time did hang very heavy on our hands, though. Every tiny sound, the drip of water, the scamper of rats, faraway voices, the distant cries and groans of other prisoners, strained our nerves. Although we lay down on our pallets for lack of anywhere else to sit, there was no question of sleep. We were horribly alert. Our joy when Cormac's kind, scarred face appeared in front of our cell was immense. We had not heard him come. He had thought to wear a pair of felt slippers, the sort that Marut, who had terrible headaches, often made her servants wear. He was carrying a club. His face was grave. We have to pass 2 guards at the head of the stairs, he said. Uni thought they went off duty at night, but apparently not. They were asleep when I came down, but they may be awake by now. There is no way we can get to my room without passing them. If necessary, I shall have to hit them with my club. We climbed the stairs up from the dungeons with a despairing feeling that we were going to get caught. Wise Child, I noticed, clutched the silver moon hidden under her clothes. Cormac pulled a hood over his head so that his face was hidden in shadow. We could hear the sound of snores before we reached the soldiers, and we tiptoed past the first of them. With a grunt and a shudder, the second soldier woke up and stared at us, stupefied by sleep. "Here, where do you think you're going?" he asked. "The mistress has asked to see these two," Cormac replied promptly. "She's keen to make them talk, and she's going to use the fire to do it." "Quite right," said the soldier, still sleepy. "Teach them a lesson they'll never forget," added Cormac. He ushered us round the corner and up the next flight of stairs and then said, "Run, as fast as you can." As if Cormac had anticipated what was about to follow, there was a shout from below. We could hear the sound of footsteps rapidly mounting the stairs and following Cormac. We raced onward and upward, passing many turnings, but eventually entering a dark passage. There we hid behind a cupboard, and were thankful to hear the soldiers rush past. We moved on down the passage, entering a maze of other passages, until suddenly Cormac opened a door into a tiny room that contained nothing but a bed, a chair, and a table. There was bread and a flask of water on the table, and, starving and thirsty as we were, he let us divide the bread and take turns drinking from his flask. Satisfied at last, Wise Child and I sank down on the bed and looked at Cormac. "You risked a lot for us," Wise Child said. "Fortunately, I don't think the soldiers could recognize you if they saw you again. One thing, though, having seen us in the presence of a footman, won't Marut have all the rooms of the footmen searched?" Cormac nodded. "I've got an answer to that," he said. "There's a hiding place here, which I think you may need to use at least until the first hue and cry dies down." He pulled away a dirty, shabby rug that lay on the floor. I thought perhaps it would reveal a trapdoor, but there was no sign of any break in the floor. Cormac placed his knife to the side of one of the floorboards and gently eased it up. Then he removed another and another, and soon we could see a room, not entirely dark, beneath us. Cormac balanced on his arms, then lowered himself into the hole and gradually disappeared, dropping the last few feet. "Now you come and I'll catch you," he said. First Wise Child and then I followed him. We found ourselves in a small chamber. In one wall was a slanting window. "Look there," said Cormac. We looked and were astonished to find that we were looking into the great hall from a considerable height. "My guess is that someone used this room to spy on the great hall," Cormac said. "Perhaps it was part of a room that belonged to the lady of the house. If she did not wish to sit at supper with the lord and his knights, she could watch the party from up here. Perhaps it was a way of seeing that he behaved himself, that he did not get too drunk or embrace other ladies. Anyway, at some point the room must have been built over. As far as I know, no one knows that it is here. I only discovered it by chance myself. It is not very comfortable, but it will make a good hiding place." "It will," said Wise Child. "We shall be safe, and a great deal more at ease than we were in that hateful dungeon." "I shall bring you food," said Cormac, "and do my best to make you comfortable." He had already placed a few cushions on the floor in readiness for our stay. "Cormac, you are the greatest dear in the world," said Wise Child. "You have risked your life to save us and found us this wonderful place to hide." She impulsively hugged him and kissed him warmly on the cheek, and I could see that Cormac, for whom Wise Child could do no wrong, was delighted. Let us hope the time will soon come when there will be no more need to hide, he said. Or to be afraid, I said.